United States. I have one of those children here with me today. Madison Jacobs and her mother are here to talk about her experiences with the disease. But first, let's take a look at her story.
Madison was an energetic, happy child. She lit up everyone's world around her. Her greatest joy was the family's horse. She was attracted to him before she could talk and was riding even before she could walk. She spent every free moment in the barn with the horses. Shortly after her 4th birthday, she began to complain of sore joints and how they seemed huge, burned, and hurt. And she was easily fatigued. Her parents became very concerned and took her to the doctor. At age 5, she was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, also called JRA for short. She was placed on medications to help control the inflammation and began attending physical and occupational therapy. There, they worked on strengthening her muscles and keeping her as active as possible. Madison had flare-ups in which she was confined to a wheelchair, and she had better days where she could ride. All throughout her treatments and trials, her greatest love was still her horse Blake, which she spent every free moment with. Her knees were the most painful joints and unfortunately kept her from riding more often. By age 12, she had double knee replacements. With the new knees and a lot of intense therapy, she was able to get back up on her horse and compete in the Special Olympics horseback riding.
Here with Madison and her mother, and you've been dealing with this pretty much your whole life. It must be pretty difficult with some activities. How do you deal with it on a day-to-day basis?
It's actually extremely hard. I've had this disease since I was 5 years old, and I'm currently now 16. On a daily basis, just getting up and out of bed in the morning to get dressed is a struggle. I sometimes have to ask my mom to come in and help me either button my pants or button my shirt because my hands aren't tight enough. They're really stiff and they're tight, and I can't loosen them enough to button my shirt or pants. And on a daily basis, even with brushing my teeth, I can't move my hands back and forth, so my mom has to brush my teeth. And going to school is a huge factor. A lot of times I end up back in my wheelchair. As we've seen in the video, I was confined to a wheelchair for quite a few months. But normally I just live with it and I deal with it, and it's something you live to learn with, and you can't just keep saying, pity me, pity me.
So in the clip it showed that you had a double knee replacement. How has this changed how you've lived, and how has it affected you with the recovery and everything?
Well, as many people know that they just don't automatically do 2 knee replacements. I had my knee replacements when I was 12 years old, and it took about until I was around the age of 14 to even be able to functionally walk again. But huge difference. I mean, I can walk with almost without any pain now. I am back on my horse, which is a huge thing, and I'm back riding, and now I can walk around with crutches or braces a lot of times with my friends, and it's made a huge difference in my life.
How has this affected your dream of competitive horseback riding?
It's actually affected my dream a lot. I mean, when I could barely even walk, it was hard to get out to the barn in general. I mean, we had to load the wheelchair into the van, unload it to get to the barn, and it took about 4 people to even help me get on my horse, lift me, because I couldn't move my legs at all. But it was a process. I mean, my therapist worked on getting my gloves over my hands, to buckling my helmet, to learning how to put my boots on again, to eventually getting on my horse and holding my reins and actually having both of my 2 feet in the stirrups now is a dream come true. And the fact that I am not only just walking on the horse, I'm competing now, and it's a huge part.
Mrs. Jacobs, how has this affected your family life, and how has it been dealing with this?
It's been a struggle with the surgeries and all, and it's been time consuming with the doctor's appointments, but it's been positive. It's brought the family closer together. So.
Well, that's good. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be back with Madison's occupational therapist.
Does your child have juvenile rheumatoid arthritis? If so, come to Camp Hope, where juvenile arthritis is not a factor.
Welcome back. We're here with Madison and her occupational therapist, Sarah. Would you like to share with us some of the activities or exercises that you've been doing to help her get back on her horse?
I would love to. Well, we worked on activities of daily living, but I want you to know the most important goal of mine as our occupational therapist and hers was to get her back riding on her horse. We worked on strengthening her muscles and range of motion activities to keep those joints moving, as well as edema control and controlling some of the inflammation. We started off with the small tasks of using like her gloves, just trying to work to get her gloves back on. Would you like to demonstrate?
Yeah.
Now, what kind of activities have you been doing to keep the inflammation down and the swelling and keeping her joints loose?
Lots of movement, physical activity, as well as the range of motion activities. Because even if she was in pain that day, she still needed to keep moving to be able to keep her active and healthy. Because if her muscles and bones deteriorated more than they already were, then it would be harder when she wasn't feeling as good. And the second thing we started working on was just her helmet. Clipping her helmet was extremely difficult. We started off just by clipping like this. These were important, very important, but very hard.
Just to build the strength in her fingers and everything?
Yes, and the muscle members she could not forget because this was so important for her riding her horse. Then there was other things where we'd build up handles for her, or to get on her horse, just building up steps so she didn't have to step as far or make as much. It was very important to lower the amount of energy it took to complete a task.
That's very important because you've had trouble with keeping your energy up, I'm sure, because it takes so much more energy to perform these tasks that we would otherwise kind of take for granted, I'm sure.
A lot of people don't realize, just as much as like I still struggle today with unclipping my helmet, and unclipping that at the beginning took so much energy out of me. I didn't even want to get on my horse after trying to put my gloves and my helmet on.
But we had a goal. She wanted to compete in the Special Olympics on horseback riding, and so we had 10 months and we got her back on her horse. It was difficult, but she worked hard and she did it.
I'm sure it was well worth it in the end. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did. Enjoyed it a lot.
Well, that's good. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us, and meet us back here next